It might only be July, but the first wave of autumn decor has already hit the shops, and at first glance it's a sea of cutesy kitsch with a lot of smiling pumpkins. But that's not the whole story though, and in this video I'll help you look beyond these first impressions and spot the hidden gems that will help you plan for a much more stylish, pulled together and just more grown-up look for the new season ahead. So let's kick off with Next. When you first walk into your local Next home store, it's a bit of a visual assault on the eyes. You're hit with a full-on cacophony of autumnal colour, which can feel slightly jarring when it's still hot and bright and sunny outside. But let's take a moment just to appreciate how far autumn decor has come here in the UK. It wasn't that long ago that you'd struggle to find even a single cushion with a vaguely seasonal feel. Now we're spoilt for choice, and I think we've got our cousins across the pond in the USA to thank for that. Their love of seasonal decorating has definitely made its way over here, and I'm not complaining one bit. Adding just a little touch of the season is such a lovely way to connect with nature and really anchor yourself in the time of year. That said, not everything hitting the shelves will suit every style. If you've got little ones around, then yes, the cutesy pieces with the pumpkins and the slogans might be exactly the sort of fun that you're after, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're leaning towards something with a more grown-up, considered feel, then you might want to be just a little bit more selective. If your room is fairly neutral already, it's easy to introduce autumnal touches. Just a cushion here or a cosy throw there in one of those richer, warmer colours. And if your space already has a few colours going on, then just pick one or two that naturally feel a little bit warmer and build on them from there. You absolutely can say it's autumn without needing a cushion that literally says it's autumn, cute as those are. I tend to find that single colour items always lend themselves to a bit more of an elevated look than the multicoloured ones, which can just feel a little bit more chaotic. One of my favourite finds in Next this time was these reeded glass vases in seasonal colours. They're such a great example of tell me it's autumn without telling me it's autumn. So simple, so contemporary, and they'd work beautifully right through to Christmas. I love these bowl or vase fillers too. If you just wanted to add a tiny little nod to the season, they are the perfect thing. And you don't even have to go with the traditional autumnal colours. There's a lovely natural option with a little pumpkin shape, and honestly, that's often all you need. I also really like the seasonal candles. They're such a simple way to add a cosy feel, even if that's the only thing you do. Just having one out on your kitchen counter or your coffee table, it can just make the whole space feel that little bit more seasonal. Here's what else Next had to offer.
train just left this town. While I'm slowly heading back to my apartment, I'm not asking for your thoughts. I'm just thinking out loud in the darkness. Ooh, there's no point 'cause we both know. From here there's nowhere to go. Someone said your heart is golden. All I got was my heart broken. I can see the dawn is coming just for you, for you.
Next, we're off to HomeSense. Now, my first impression is that HomeSense have focused most of their early releases around Halloween, so if that's your thing, the choice is endless. But if you're looking for more autumn-focused decor, I've got a feeling there's still plenty more to come. It's definitely a store worth checking back in on over the next few weeks because the stock here changes so often. That said, what I did spot was really promising. HomeSense is one of the best places for finding pieces that give a gentle nod to the season without shouting about it. If you're after cushions in autumnal colours or with subtle textures and patterns that still feel cosy and seasonal, this is a great place to look. There were also a few more traditional autumn designs that leaned far less on the cutesy side and would work beautifully in a grown-up space.
Someone said your heart is golden. All I got was my heart broken. I can see the dawn is coming just.
Walking into one of the larger HomeSense stores can be a little overwhelming. There's such a sheer volume of product, all fighting for attention. But the trick is to train your eye to spot the treasures and ignore the rest. What I tend to look for, especially at this time of year, are the simpler ornaments and accents. Things with a more muted, single colour tones that will blend easily into a neutral setting. I love these grey knit pumpkins in a mix of textures and patterns. They'd work beautifully together if you have a neutral or grey colour scheme. And I also spotted this little faux book, a faux spells book. Even if you don't usually decorate for Halloween, it would make a really fun base for styling. Perfect for sitting another ornament or little seasonal accent on top. Just a quirky little find that adds interest without being too theme heavy. Let's head over to Primark now, and one of the biggest draws here, of course, is the price. You can pick up some really lovely little seasonal touches without spending very much at all. Now, it's true that lower prices can sometimes mean a compromise on quality. For example, a candle from Primark might not last quite as long or throw out as much scent as a higher end one. But when it comes to seasonal decor that you're only using occasionally, maybe a decorative plate that you bring out just a couple of times when entertaining friends or family, you don't necessarily need to spend a lot, and that's where Primark really comes into its own. You can still find some really thoughtful pieces here, things that, while inexpensive, can be brought out year after year and become just part of your seasonal traditions. It's a lovely way to add warmth and charm to your home without overspending. And with a bit of careful choosing, you might be surprised at just how well some of these items hold up. I'd love you to leave me a comment and let me know, have you spotted anything that's caught your eye yet? Do you like to decorate for autumn? And if so, how much do you do? Are you more of a subtle nod kind of person, or do you go all in with pumpkins, garlands, the whole lot? I always enjoy hearing about what you're up to in your own home, so do share in the comments below. And if you're enjoying not just browsing the shops with me, but also getting some insight into what I'd actually buy and why, as well as what I'd skip, then please do give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you here for the next one. Carefully selected, I'm a big fan of faux stems for the perfect seasonal accent, and I loved these ones in Primark. I thought for the price they were an ideal little nod to the season and would work beautifully as a transitional piece from the end of summer into autumn. Now we're off to the range, and when it comes to affordability, they're the one to beat. A bit like HomeSense, walking in can feel like a bit of a sensory overload. There's a lot to take in, and it can be tricky to spot the diamonds in the rough, but trust me, there are definitely diamonds in there. One of the big themes I noticed for autumn 2025 is toadstools. They're everywhere this year. I think the real trick with seasonal decorating is to choose little touches that feel like the season without having to shout about it, like this large acorn. Acorns are such a classic symbol of autumn, and the bronzy tones here are just subtly seasonal, nothing too bold or over the top. I could imagine this styled on top of a stack of books, and it would just be the perfect autumn accent. Again, you have to train your eye to find the right pieces, but they are there. I spotted quite a few single colour, softer toned items that once you take them away from the visual clutter, they would blend beautifully into a calm seasonal look. And they're the kind of pieces that you can bring out year after year. I'm all about longevity in my seasonal decor. I want things that will last, which is why I tend to steer away from anything that feels too trend driven or of the moment. That way your collection builds over time and it still feels cohesive. I also think the range is one of the best places for faux stems. Their selection is brilliant and the prices are hard to beat. Personally, I'd skip the heavily autumnal garlands with, all the autumn colours and instead go for something a bit more subtle, like a single colour garland that simply adds that warmth but in a quieter, more elegant way. They also had some really unusual stems that I just loved. The way they draped was beautiful, perfect for popping a couple into a vase for a simple seasonal arrangement. You could mix the colours if you like, or just go for one tone. There were 2 different options and I honestly thought that both were great. And sticking with the buy this, skip that, I would skip this older fashioned style bowl filler potpourri and instead opt for one of the more modern ways of doing it, like these single colour little mini pumpkins. I think they would just look much more stylish.
Soon they'll be falling down. Now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon.
And this one, just a hard no from me. Skip, skip, skip.
Autumn comes too soon. The light that flickers.
And what have Matalan got to offer this year? Once again, it's worth saying that if the traditional autumnal colours work well with your existing decor, then absolutely go for it. But if they don't, you can get that lovely seasonal feel in plenty of other ways through texture, pattern, even scent. There are so many subtle ways to bring in a touch of autumn without relying on the classic oranges and rusts. I was really drawn to this cushion, not because of the colour, but because of the texture. The little baubles almost looked like tiny pumpkins and it just had that cosy, tactile quality that works so well at this time of year. And I also love these little mugs and spoon rests. They're such an inexpensive way to bring a hint of the season into your space, especially as we start moving towards the later months. Just something simple on your kitchen counter or shelf that quietly says autumn without needing to shout about it. As I've already said, I think you'll get a much more cohesive, elevated look if you lean into the more muted colour palettes rather than going all in on the traditional autumnal colours. That's exactly why I'd choose this green and cream toned wreath with the white pumpkins. It still says autumn, but in a softer, maybe more refined way. I'd skip the more traditional wreath with the bold oranges and reds. This one just feels a little calmer and a little more timeless. It's always interesting to see what trends are coming through in the first wave of any new decor season, and even more helpful to know what's actually worth picking up. With so much choice out there, the key is learning to train your eye, trying to hone in on that one piece, just the piece that really catches your attention, and if you can, lift it off the shelf and look at it away from all the surrounding noise. It's amazing how different something can feel once it's not competing with everything else. Often it's those quieter, more considered pieces, the muted tones, natural textures and simple shapes that give you the most versatility and help create just a more elevated, cohesive look. And while there's always room for a little fun or whimsy, a pulled together seasonal space usually comes down to just being a little bit more selective. It really doesn't take much, just the right piece or two to bring in that warm autumnal feeling. And if you're enjoying doing a little bit of forward planning for the new season ahead, then you're definitely going to want to check out this video where I decorate my small but mighty front porch. It's full of ideas for adding those welcoming seasonal touches even in the tiniest of spaces, and it might just give you the inspiration you need for your own entryway this autumn. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.